Hey everybody! Thank you so much for waiting and for joining me for an emergency stream so we can get through this book. I really didn't want to have to postpone. Oh, I know you missed the spicy scene! Oh. Hello Katricia, hello Pippa, no. So yeah, I was a little bit late today, because I got caught in the rain, so I'm feeling damp and gross. Oh, I finished both the ones I missed at like 5 this morning. You were like getting ready, right? Come here. Oof. I also, full disclosure, got a little too high again. Sorry. I'm slightly distracted and relaxed, but that's okay. Yeah, I think because it's the same weed I smoked last time, and I think it's just like really, really strong. Hi, Ass Queen. Hi, Rocks for Life. Oh, hello, Mimi. She's so happy I'm home. She still hasn't gotten over her Mama came home wiggles. Alright, hey Sote. So yeah, I think we've got to kind of hop right into it because we've got more chapters than we normally do left, and we have to get through it. So, yeah, we did. You signed the lease, Kaytrusha! Yay! Oh, so exciting! Oh, that's so good. I'm so glad. Home hunting is like the most annoying thing. I'm so glad that you just got it. You like found a place you like. It's all settled. You don't have to look anymore. Now it's just the fun part. It's cheaper and bigger and has a yard? Oh my god, that's a dream. I keep hitting my head on the microphone. No, I need to smoke a little bit on my way home because I'm just like supposed to have this like synergy meeting with my boss tomorrow. And he canceled it right at the end of the day, and I've been like working really hard on stuff to prepare for it, and I was really stressed out. And then I found out it was canceled, and I was just like, ugh. Yeah, I know, right? He loves those buzzwords. This is the same boss, and he wants to have like an individual meeting with each and every salaried employee also. Like, and it's a fairly large company. I'm not surprised that he's doing this because he's the kind of guy who always uses his hand and everything, but I'm like, dude. But yeah, it's like, so how can your department work better with all the other departments? And I'm like, I'm literally the office manager. I work with everyone. So. But like today he got like 4 books, like 4 business books in the mail. And he's like, I read so many books. I read all the books all the time. He asked me sometime like what I do when I'm like taking in media. Do I read? I'm like, well, yes, but not business books. I was like, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and he's like, no, I can't do that, not by listening. Oh, I'm a reading person. I'm like, yeah, cool, dude, but like, you make it sound like the reading is better. So, maybe don't be rude. But anyway, spilling tea all over the place. All right, where is that chapter tracker? There he is. I will tell him to synergize your ass. He's not a bad guy. I don't like to make him sound like a bad guy. He's not. He's just an old man who thinks that he's a young man. Oh, when you were selling insurance, they wanted your business books every day. Yeah, that sounds like a thing that they would want you to do. All right. So, I think we were all set here. So, where we left off last time, I don't remember a ton of it, but I do remember that, like, Feyre and Rasan, they went to the Court of Nightmares. Things got really spicy. Like, really horny. In front of everyone. But yeah, then when they left, they got in a fight. And he was basically like, what do you want? She's like, I don't know what I want. And then Rasan is like left, and he's like not talking to her right now. He's being a broody boy. And Feyre's trying to get in touch with him, and she's like admitted to herself officially that she's like wants to try to like be with him now. And she's like, in whatever way that means, we'll have to just work it out. We do love a sad boy. We love a sad broody boy here. So yeah, that's where she's at. But she's ready for it. She wants to paint that dick. Yeah. Let me paint your dick. Yeah. Anyway. And yeah, so I think that's basically where we left off, is that like he still hasn't come back yet. She's still like, he's still brooding. And then I don't remember what else. So we're gonna find out as we go back here to figure out where's oh, and then like not in the sexy relationship thing, they stole a truth orb or something that they can show to the mortal queens, who are all bitches. So that they'll believe that Rassand isn't an asshole, which, I mean, prove it to me too. I want proof that you're not an asshole. Been saying it this whole time. Yeah. And then once they believe that he's not a dick, maybe they'll help them out and give them that book or whatever. It's just the plot. Oh, the song is called Mr. Slink. And he slinks. Let's do something a little bit less. Boom, 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 boom. A little bit more relaxed here. There we go. Okay, so he wants to use it to prove them that he's not lying about the city, but why can't he just use the orb that makes him tell the truth? He would just be like, hey guys, I'm not a dick. Does the orb make him tell the truth? I mean, that too, yes, but sorry, I thought that the orb showed them something. I didn't realize the orb was like, if you're holding the orb, you cannot lie. Like a zone of truth in D&D. But if that's the case, then great. It shows the truth. Okay. I'm too high to really wrap my head around that right now. I'm sorry. Okay, so it'll show Valeris. Yes. Shows the truth. But it could probably show him being a good boy. Okay. I'm sorry. It's one of those things where it's like, somehow you just made my brain explode. The concept of like, it's a thing that shows the truth. Like, oh. Oh, just shows some petting puppies. Oh. See, that'd be good. If you showed me Rassand petting puppies, I love puppies so much, I think I would not be able to hold any sort of grudge against him anymore. I'd just be a puppy. 1 second, I should probably turn the rest of my lights on, eh? It's gonna get darker as the rain continues and it becomes nighttime. There's the turning on the lights button. There it is. Yep. Alright, that'll be a little better. A little better. Okay, without further ado, let us go on to chapter 44. But despite the letter, despite the mess between us, as I gaped at the mirror an hour later, I couldn't quite believe what stared back. I had been so relieved these past few weeks to be sleeping at all that I'd forgotten to be grateful that I was keeping down my food. The fullness had come back to my face, my body. What should have taken weeks longer as a human had been hurried along by the miracle of my immortal blood. And the dress? I'd never worn anything like it, and doubted I'd ever wear anything like it again. Crafted of tiny blue gems so pale they were almost white, it clung to every curve and hollow before draping to the floor and pooling like liquid starlight. The long sleeves were tight, capped at the wrists. Mimi, stop. I'm trying to describe a very fancy dress, and you are making it difficult. We're in here too. You're loving it. You got your windows wide open. Just given that your speakers are right next to them and the volume is high, it might be awkward for the neighbors. Oh no. I like the rain when it's warm out. Today it's a pretty warm day. I didn't like getting caught in it, but I like it in general. When I came home, all the windows were open. It was very nice. But anyway, she's describing a dress that I guess is like it's built out of gems. So I guess almost like a chain mail or like a scale mail, but crystals, which is cool. That's what I'm getting here. I guess they're very tiny, and so therefore it drapes very nice and it's very clingy. Unless it's like just like a really clingy dress that's also got stones all over it. Because, yeah. Girl, did you stone those tights? Anyway. I'm gonna start with that description again, because Mimi ruined it. Crafted of tiny blue gems so pale they were almost white. It clung to every curve and hollow before draping to the floor and pooling like liquid starlight. The long sleeves were tight, capped at the wrists with cuffs of pure diamond. Oof. The neckline grazed my collarbones, the modesty of it undone by how the gown hugged areas I supposed a female might enjoy showing off. My hair had been swept off my face with 2 combs of silver and diamond, then left to drape down my back. And I thought, as I stood alone in my bedroom, that I might have looked like a fallen star. Yeah, rich bitch sequence. Rasand was nowhere to be found when I worked up the courage to go to the rooftop garden. The beading on the dress clinked and hissed against the floors as I walked through the nearly dark house, all the lights softened or extinguished. In fact, the whole city had blown out its lights. A winged, muscled figure stood atop the roof, and my heart stumbled. But then he turned just as the scent hit me, and something in my chest sank a bit as Cassian let out a low whistle. I should have let Nuala and Saradwin dress me. Oh, that's right. This is like some like fancy... It's a festival that happens on the same night that the Springtime Fuck Festival happens. I can't remember what it's actually called, so it's the Springtime Fuck Festival. So right now, while Talon is honor and duty bound to just fuck someone in a cave, she's going to... Thank you, Katrisha. She's going to Starfall, where she has just described herself as looking like a fallen star. So great. She's on theme. Also, I agree, yes, Queen, get that man a dress, because I love when, like, really masculine big guys can flip into drag and do it well. It's great. Always gotta fuck in a cave. Well, you know what? Yeah, Tamlin does always gotta fuck in a cave at least once a year. So, do you think that the author set this up so that Feyre and Rasand would not get together until now or after this, when Tamlin will have already had to have fucked someone else, and therefore Feyre would not feel so, like, guilty about it? You think that's what's going on here, or am I thinking about it too much? Because that could explain why it just hasn't happened yet. Why these two events need to line up in the story, but I don't know. Didn't they establish that someone else can stand it? No. They can't. I seem to remember them saying that nobody can stand, and he has to do it. And yeah, Tamlin did. Yeah, he did. Yes, he sure did in the first book. I remember because that's when he said, like, I had to pick somebody else. I could smell you, but you weren't there, and so I had to pick somebody else, and we did it, and it was fine, but now I'm home, and I'm gonna bite you. And it was the first time that I said you needed it in the no can. He sucks even worse. I don't know, that makes him suck even worse. It was a thing he had to do. And they weren't together then. Yet. And now I don't know. Anyway. They all suck. Everybody sucks. She managed to get bitten by another High Lord on this special day. Oh, guess we'll find out. I didn't know whether to smile or wince. You look rather good despite it. He did. He was out of his fighting clothes and armor, sporting a black tunic cut to show off that warrior's body. His black hair had been brushed and smoothed, and even his wings looked cleaner. Cassian held his arms out. His siphons remained, a metal fingerless gauntlet stretched beneath the tailored sleeves of his jacket. Ready? He'd kept me company the past 2 days, training me each morning. While he'd shown me more particulars on how to use an Illyrian blade, mostly how to disembowel someone with it, we chatted about everything. Our equally miserable lives as children, hunting, food, everything, that is, except for the subject of Rassand. Cassian had mentioned only once that Rhys was up at the house, and I supposed my expression had told him enough about not wanting to hear anything else. He grinned at me now. With all those gems and beads, you might be too heavy to carry. I hope you've been practicing your winnowing in case I drop you. Oh, don't say that. Rude and scary. Funny. I allowed him to scoop me into his arms before we shot into the sky. Winnowing might still evade me, but I wished I had wings, I realized. Great, powerful wings so I might fly as they did. So I might see the world and all it had to offer. Below us, every lingering light winked out. There was no moon, no music flitted through the streets. Silence, as if waiting for something. Cassian soared through the quiet dark to where the House of Wind loomed. I could make out crowds gathered on the many balconies and patios, only from the faint gleam of starlight on their hair. Then the clink of their glasses and low chatter as we neared. Cassian set me down on the crowded patio off the dining room, only a few revelers bothering to look at us. Dim bowls of feylight inside the house illuminated spreads of food and endless rows of green bottles of sparkling wine atop the tables. Cassian was gone and returned before I missed him, pressing a glass of the latter into my hand. No sign of Rassand. Maybe he'd avoid me the entire party. Someone called Cassian's name from down the patio, and he clapped me on the shoulder before striding off. A tall male, his face in shadow, clasped forearms with Cassian, his white teeth gleaming in the darkness. Asriel stood with the stranger already, his wings tucked in tight to keep revelers from knocking into them. He, Cassian, and more had all been quiet today, understandably so. I scanned for signs of my other friends. The words sounded in my head. Was that what they were? Amren was nowhere in sight, but I spotted a golden head at the same moment she spied me, and more breeze to my side. She wore a gown of pure white, little more than a slip of silk that showed off her generous curves. Indeed, a glance over her shoulder revealed Asriel staring blatantly at the back of it, Cassian and the stranger already too deep in conversation to notice what had drawn the spymaster's attention. Everybody wearing naked dresses. For a moment, the ravenous hunger on Asriel's face made my stomach tighten. I'd remembered feeling like that. Remembered how it felt to yield to it. How I'd come close to doing that the other night. Moore said, "It won't be long now." Until what? No one had told me what to expect, because they hadn't wanted to ruin the surprise of Starfall. Until the fun? I surveyed the party around us. This isn't the fun? Moore lifted an eyebrow. None of us really care about this part. Once it starts, you'll see. She took a sip of her sparkling wine. That's some dress. Your lucky Auburn is hiding in her little attic, or she'd probably steal it right off you, the vain drake. Oh, so she is a fire drake then, is what I'm getting. She won't take time off from decoding? Yes and no. Something about Starfall disturbs her, she claims. Who knows? She probably does it to be contrary. Even as she spoke, her words were distant. Her face a bit tight. I said quietly, "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Tomorrow, when we leave Valaris to keep anyone from noticing our movements in this area. Okay, Trisha, I think it was a joke about her hoarding treasure like a dragon. Okay, because they keep saying dragon things, and it doesn't always sound like a joke. And they're trying to she's something other than a fairy. Like she's something underneath all the fairy stuff. She is something else. So I think she's probably a fire drake. But that's just a guess. I don't know. Anyway. More Azriel. Sorry, I misread the punctuation on that. More, Azriel had told me tightly over breakfast that morning, would return to the Court of Nightmares to check in on her father's recovery. For those of you who are a little bit behind or not quite caught up on what happened yesterday, when they were doing the spicy Court of Nightmares part, it wasn't all spicy because Moore's father got his arm all snapped into a million bits because he said he called Pharaoh a whore, and Moore's son didn't like that, so he broke his arm all up to bits, like an angry man. That's why they had a fight. Probably not the best place to discuss our plans. Moore shrugged. Yet another bad daddy. All the bad daddies. I don't have any choice but to be ready. I'll come with you to the camp, then go my way afterward. Cassian will be happy about that, I said. Even if Azriel was the one trying his best not to stare at her. Moore snorted. Maybe. I lifted a brow. So you two... Another shrug. Once. Well, not even. I was 17. He wasn't even a year older. When everything had happened. But there was no darkness on her face as she sighed. Cauldron, that was a long time ago. I visited Reese for 2 weeks when we were training in the war camp, and Cassian, Azriel, and I became friends. One night, Reese and his mother had to go back to the night court, and Azriel went with them, so Cassie and I were left alone. And that night, one thing led to another, and... I wanted Cassian to be the one who did it. I wanted to choose. A third shrug. I wondered if Azriel had wished to be the one she chose instead, if he'd ever admitted it to Moore or Reese. If he resented that he'd been away that night, that Moore hadn't considered him. Reese came back the next morning. Reese came back the next morning, and when he learned what had happened, she laughed under her breath. We try not to talk about the incident. He and Cassian. I've never seen them fight like that. Hopefully I never will again. I know Reese wasn't pissed about my virginity, but rather the danger that losing it had put me in. Azriel was even angrier about it, though he let Reese do the walloping. They knew what my family would do for debasing myself with a bastard-born lesser fairy. She brushed a hand over her abdomen as if she could feel that nail they'd spiked through it. They were right. So you and Cassian, I said, wanting to move on from it, that darkness. You were never together again after that? No, Moore said, laughing quietly. I was desperate, reckless that night. I picked him not just for his kindness, but also because I wanted my first time to be with one of the legendary Illyrian warriors. I wanted to lie with the greatest of Illyrian warriors, actually, and I'd taken one look at Cassian and known. After I got what I wanted, after everything, I didn't like that it caused a rift with him and Reese, or even him and Az, so never again. And you were never with anyone after it? Not the cold, beautiful shadow singer who tried so hard not to watch her with longing on his face. I've had lovers, Moore clarified, but I get bored, and Cassian has had them too, so don't get that unrequited love, moony woo-woo look. He just wants what he can't have, and it's irritated him for centuries that I walked away and never looked back. Oh, it drives him insane, Reese said from behind me, and I jumped. But the High Lord was circling me. I crossed my arms as he paused and smirked. You look like a woman again. You really know how to compliment females, cousin, Moore said, and patted him on the shoulder as she spotted an acquaintance and went to say hello. I tried not to look at Reese, who was in a black jacket, casually unbuttoned at the top so that the white shirt beneath also unbuttoned at the neck. Showed the tattoos on his chest peeking through. Tried not to look, and failed. Do you plan to ignore me some more? I said coolly. I'm here now, aren't I? I wouldn't want you to call me a hateful coward again. I opened my mouth, but felt all the wrong words start to come out, so I shut it and looked for Azrael or Cassian or anyone who might talk to me. Going up to a stranger was starting to sound appealing when Reese said a bit hoarsely, I wasn't punishing you, I needed time. I didn't want to have this conversation here, with so many people listening. So I gestured to the party and said, will you please tell me what this gathering is about? Rasan stepped up behind me, snorting as he said into my ear, look up. Indeed, as I did so, the crowd hushed. No speech for your guests, I murmured. Oh my god, do I want to become famous? Do I want to become famous? Absolutely I do. That's everything I ever wanted. You robot? Thank you for the opportunity. You banned. No speech for your guests, I murmured. Easy. I just wanted it to be easy between us again. Tonight's not about me, though my presence is appreciated and noted, he said. Tonight's about that. As he pointed, a star vaulted across the sky, brighter and closer than any I'd seen before. The crowd and city below cheered, raising their glasses as it passed right overhead. And only when it had disappeared over the curve of the horizon did they drink deeply. I leaned back a step into Reese and quickly stepped away, out of his heat and power and scent. We'd done enough damage in a similar position at the Court of Nightmares. Another star crossed the sky, twirling and twisting over itself, as if it were reveling in its own sparkling beauty. It was chased by another and another, until a brigade of them were unleashed from the edge of the horizon. Like 1,000 archers had loosed them from mighty bows. The stars cascaded over us, filling the world with white and blue light. They were like living fireworks, and my breath lodged in my throat as the stars kept on falling and falling. I'd never seen anything so beautiful. And when the sky was full of them, when the stars raced and danced and flowed across the world, the music began. Wherever they were, people began dancing, swaying and twirling, some grabbing hands and spinning to the drums, the strings, the glittering harps. Not the grinding and thrusting of the Court of Nightmares, but joyous, peaceful dancing, for the love of sound and movement and life. I lingered with Rasand at the edge of it, caught between watching the people dancing on the patio, hands upraised, and the stars streaming past, closer and closer, until I swore I could have touched them if I leaned out. And there were Moore and Asriel, and Cassian. The three of them, dancing together, Moore's head tipped back to the sky, arms up, the starlight gleaming of the pure white of her gown. Dancing as if it might be her last time, flowing between Asriel and Cassian like the three of them were one unit, one being. It's called a throuple, and I think they should just embrace what's meant to be. I looked behind me to find Rhys watching them, his face soft, sad. Separated for 50 years, and reunited, only to be cleaved apart as soon to fight again for their freedom. Rhys caught my gaze and said, "Come, there's a better view, quieter." He held a hand out to me. That sorrow, that weight, lingered in his eyes, and I couldn't bear to see it, just as I couldn't bear to see my three friends dancing together as if it was the last time they'd ever do it. Rhys led me to a small private balcony jutting from the upper level of the House of Wind. On the patios below, the music still played, the people still danced, stars wheeling by, close and swift. He let go as I took a seat on the balcony rail. I immediately decided against it as I beheld the drop and backed away a healthy step. Rhys chuckled. "If you fell, you know I'd bother to save you before you hit the ground." "But not until I was close to death?" "Maybe." I leaned a hand against the rail, peering at the stars whizzing past. "As punishment for what I said to you?" "I said some horrible things too," he murmured. "I didn't mean it," I blurted. "I meant it more about myself than you, and I'm sorry." He watched the stars for a moment before he replied. "You were right, though. I stayed away because you were right, though I'm glad to hear my absence felt like a punishment." I snorted, but was grateful for the humor, for the way he'd always been able to amuse me. "Any news with the Orb of the Queens?" "Nothing yet. We're waiting for them to deign to reply." We were silent again, and I studied the stars. They're not stars at all. "No." Rhys came up beside me at the rail. "Our ancestors thought they were, but they're just spirits on a yearly migration to somewhere. Why they picked this day to appear here, no one knows." "Oh, so they're like ghosts." "Cool." I felt his eyes upon me and tore my gaze from the shooting stars. Light and shadow passed over his face. The cheers and music of the city far, far below were barely audible over the crowd gathered at the house. "There must be hundreds of them," I managed to say, dragging my stare back to the stars whizzing past. "Thousands," he said. "They'll keep coming until dawn. Or I hope they will. There were less and less of them the last time I witnessed Starfall." For Amarantha had locked him away. What's happening to them? I looked in time to see him shrug. Something twanged in my chest. "I wish I knew. They keep coming back despite it." "Why?"
"Why does anything cling to something? Maybe they love wherever they're going so much that it's worth it. Maybe they'll keep coming back until there's only one star left. Maybe that one star will make the trip forever, out of the hope that someday, if it keeps coming back often enough, another star will find it again.
I frowned at the wine in my hand. That's a very sad thought.
Indeed.
Reese rested his forearms on the balcony edge, close enough for my fingers to touch, if I dared. A calm, full silence enveloped us. Too many words. I still had too many words in me. I don't know how much time passed, but it must have been a while, because when he spoke again, I jolted.
Every year I was under the mountain and Starfall came around, Amarantha made sure that I serviced her. The entire night. Starfall is no secret, even to outsiders. Even the Court of Nightmares crawls out of the hewn city to look up at the sky. So she knew what it meant to me.
I stopped hearing the celebrations around us. I'm sorry. Was all I could offer.
I got through it by reminding myself that my friends were safe, that Valaris was safe. Nothing else mattered, so long as I had that. She could use my body however she wanted. I didn't care.
So why aren't you down there with them? I asked, even as I tucked the horror of what had been done to him into my heart.
They don't know what she did to me on Starfall. I don't want it to ruin their night.
I don't think it would. They'd be happy if you let them shoulder the burden.
The same way you rely on others to help with your own troubles.
We stared at each other, close enough to share breath. And maybe all those words bottled up in me. Maybe I didn't need them right now. My fingers grazed his, warm and sturdy, patient, as if waiting to see what else I might do. Maybe it was the wine, but I stroked a finger down his. And as I turned to him more fully, something blinding and tinkling slammed into my face. Oh, she was like having like a romantic moment with him, and one of the stars just go. Yeah, that would happen to me. That sounds like a thing that would happen to me. Trying to have like this really romantic moment and just never mind. Star poop. I thought it was just a star flying into her face, like straight, like when a bird runs into a window. But it could be poop too. Wouldn't be the first time she was covered in shit. Gross. I reeled back, crying out as I bent over, shielding my face against the light that I could still see against my shut eyes. Reese let out a startled laugh. A laugh! And I realized that my eyes hadn't been singed out of their sockets. I whirled on him. I could have been blinded, I hissed, shoving him. He took a look at my face and burst out laughing again. Real laughter, open and delighted and lovely. I wiped at my face, and when I pulled my hands down, I gaped. Pale green light, like drops of paint, glowed in flecks on my hand. Splattered star spirit. I didn't know if I should be horrified or amused, or disgusted. When I went to rub it off, Reese caught my hands.
Don't,
he said, still laughing.
It looks like your freckles are glowing.
Ew. No. So what? Should we just, like, smash lightning bugs on our faces? Is that what we like? Is that the new makeup? Like, I like glitter as much as the next person, but... Sure, star spirit. Ugh. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a firefly and I'm just gonna pop its butt and just rub it. It's a new highlighter, you know. Ugh. Gross. I don't even buy fake vanilla because that comes from beaver butt. Don't want anybody's butt juice. No, thank you. What was it that was on the latest podcast, the creepypasta that was like butt mustard? Isn't that a thing? Anyway. Let's stop talking about that. It's gross. Kids do that and I always hated it. Yeah, I know kids do that. It didn't happen a lot around me, luckily. I'm just lucky. My nostrils flared, and I went to shove him again, not caring if my new strength knocked him off the balcony. He could summon wings. He could deal with it. He sidestepped me, veering toward the balcony rail, but not fast enough to avoid the careening star that collided with the side of his face. Not everybody getting hit. He leaped back with a curse. I laughed, the sound rasping out of me. Not a chuckle or snort, but a cackling laugh. And I laughed again and again, and he lowered his hands from his eyes. The entire left side of his face had been hit. Like heavenly war paint, that's what it looked like. I could see why he didn't want me to wipe mine away. Reese was examining his hands, covered in the dust, and I stepped toward him, peering at the way it glowed and glittered. He went still as death as I took one of his hands to my own and traced a star shape on the top of his palm, playing with the glimmer and shadows until it looked like one of the stars that had hit us. This is why there are less of them, because these fuckers keep catching them with their faces. Yeah. Maybe if they didn't run into so many faces, there'd be more of them, but they just love faces. His fingers tightened on mine, and I looked up. He was smiling at me, and looked so un-High Lord-like with the glowing dust on the side of his face that I grinned back. I hadn't even realized what I'd done until his own smile faded, and his mouth parted slightly. "Smile again," he whispered. I hadn't smiled for him, ever, or laughed. Under the mountain, I had never grinned, never chuckled. And afterward? And this male before me, my friend, for all that he had done, I had never given him either. Even when I had just painted something on him, for him. I'd paint it again. Oh, she drew a little star. And she's like, I did an art. She did art. So I smiled at him, broad and without restraint. "You're exquisite," he breathed. "You'd be prettier if you smiled." I know that's not what's happening, but you know. The air was too tight, too close between our bodies, between our joined hands. But I said, "You owe me 2 thoughts, back from when I first came here. Tell me what you're thinking." Reese rubbed his neck. "Want to know why I don't speak or see you? Because I was so convinced you'd throw me out of my ass. He dragged a hand through his hair and huffed a laugh. "Huh. I figured hiding was a better alternative." Who would have thought the High Lord of the Night Court could be afraid of an illiterate human? I purred. He grinned, nudging me with an elbow. "That's one," I pushed. "Tell me another thought." His eyes fell on mine, knowing that Tamlin and I had been in the Forgotten Hall, tangled up together. Son's kiss had been brutal, demanding, and yet... why? His gaze settled on the hand I'd painted instead, as if it were easier to face.
Because I didn't make it pleasant for you. And I was jealous and pissed off, and I knew you hated me.
Dangerous territory, I warned myself. No, honesty, that's what it was. Honesty and trust. I'd never had that with anyone. Reese looked up, meeting my gaze. And whatever was on my face, I think it might have been mirrored on his. The hunger and longing and surprise. I swallowed hard, traced another line of stardust along the side of his powerful wrist. I didn't think he was breathing. Do you want to dance with me? I whispered. He was silent for long enough that I lifted my head to scan his face. But his eyes were bright, silver-lined.
You want to dance?
He rasped, his fingers curling around mine. I pointed with my chin toward the celebration below. Down there, with them. Where the music beckoned, where life beckoned. Where he could spend the night with his friends, and where I wanted to spend it with them too, even with the strangers in attendance. I did not mind stepping out of the shadows, did not mind even being in the shadows to begin with, so long as he was with me, my friend through so many dangers, who had fought for me when no one else would, even myself.
Of course I'll dance with you,
Reese said, his voice still raw.
All night if you wish.
Even if I step on your toes?
Even then.
He leaned in, brushing his mouth against my heated cheek. I closed my eyes at the whisper of a kiss, at the hunger that ravaged me in its wake, that might ravage Prithian, and all around us, as if the world itself were indeed falling apart. Stars rained down. Bits of stardust glowed on his lips as he pulled away, as I stared up at him, breathless, while he smiled. A smile the world would likely never see, the smile he'd given up for the sake of his people, his lands. He said softly,
I am very glad I met you, Feyre.
I blinked away the burning in my eyes. Come on, I said, tugging on his hand. Let's go join the dance. Oh,